Okay. The recording is in progress.
Yes. Okay. I clicked the OK button.
Did you? Well,
Yes.
thank you. It's nice to see you, Mr. Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing okay. Is it raining there?
Oh, it's pouring here at the moment. Can you hear
Oh,
it?
no. Thank
Oh, okay.
goodness. I was wondering if like thunder and lightning was gonna
Yeah.
join our conversation today. So I told a friend that you and I were gonna have a conversation, and they said, "Wow, the boys in the band are getting back together again." So and that's how it feels. It's kind of cool. It's neat. Right? I mean, how
Yeah.
often does Amazing Man come up for you?
A couple times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. People ask me about it, or I'm teaching a class in comics and graphic novels
Where
at
at?
Farmingdale State College.
Oh, okay.
And so usually when I get to the 1970s and I start talking about, and showing slides and people are like, wait, is that you?
Ah, ha, ha. That's cool.
Uh,
What slides are you showing of you?
I do a whole history of the comics industry. So there's pictures of me from the 70s and the 80s, back when I had hair, and
Oh yeah, well, a lot of us had hair back then.
yes.
It was like it was the thing. It was a fad back then for
Yes.
people to have hair. Yeah, let's get the Amazing Man stuff out of the way.
Okay.
Right away. So for anybody who doesn't has lived under a rock back when we had hair, um, Bob Rozakis and I, we co-created a comic book together it was called Amazing Man, apostrophe Mazing Man. It was published by DC Comics. There were 12 issues and three
Three specials.
specials.
Yeah. Yep.
So the thing is, and Bob was a seasoned veteran. When you were doing this, you'd been writing since the 70s, really. I
Yeah. I
mean,
started writing in 73, 74. So
yeah, and Amazing Man came out in 85, 86.
yeah. Yeah.
So I just did the math like earlier. It's like it's 40 years.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That's insane. I mean, I know people for 40 years, but I can't even believe Amazing Man. I remember like for the 25th anniversary telling that back when I spoke to editors at DC, I was like, or when they spoke to me anyway, I was like, yeah, you should do a 25th anniversary special. They're like, uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, okay. Um,
I'm still waiting for them to do the collected edition.
Yeah, well, I suspect we can wait a little bit longer for
Yeah.
that. But yeah, here's the thing is like, yeah, so in 1985, I was probably 17, 18. I'd started writing to you because you were the answer man.
Right.
And that stuck in my head. You were the answer man and you were a writer of the Teen Titans, and those two things stuck in my head. And you wrote Robin, and I loved Robin. And so I was like, I'm gonna write to this guy. And I was 13 because like my dad was laid off and I didn't know how I was gonna get comic books. The thing, and you wrote back to me, you were very kind. You said, like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna put you on the comp list, which was really, really here's the thing. Lots of things blow my mind about this. Here's the thing that well, number one that blows my mind about this is like why did you write back to me? And you wrote back to me consistently. Didn't you just think, who's this annoying kid? Like that keeps, I kept writing to Bob and writing and writing. You would write back. And I'm wondering, is that because it was like the letter column, culture back then?
Well, you were writing, and it was all, as I recall, handwritten on loose leaf paper.
Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah. But on every one of the letters, the last page, you did a drawing of you and the dog and the whole variety of things.
I wondered
And I'll
about
be
that.
honest,
Yeah.
I looked at it and I said, this kid's got talent.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was, if I really felt if you were going to spend the time writing me these long letters, the least I could do was write that.
That's amazing. And so it had nothing to do with like the culture back then of because the letter
No, I mean,
columns, letter
if
writers were.
we got letters to the letter columns, I mean, we had the pre-printed postcard that went out, thanks for writing kind of thing. Um, and occasionally, if somebody asked a question or something like that, I type or write a little note on it, in answer to your question, here's this. But
Oh wow.
um,
Okay.
but
But back then, I do want to talk. I want to ask you about the woodchucks, but there was more of the fan community was in a way tighter.
yeah,
Does that feel right?
well, it was because I mean, my generation was really the second generation of comic book.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
first generation grew up and it was a job. It was, a whole new industry, and
Yeah.
they basically invented it.
Yeah.
But we came in and we were the first people coming into the business who grew up reading the comics.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
So there was, having been able to discover one another through the letter columns and things like that. I mean, there was no internet, there was no other way to get in touch,
Yeah.
and just a few editors who ran complete addresses. I mean, Marvel did, and Julie did for a while, and
Yeah.
that's how we were able to track people down. And then the regulars of us who were writing letters. I mean, I
Yeah.
I met Mike Barr at a New York Comic Convention in 1972. We were both
Okay.
standing online waiting for Jack Kirby to get an autograph on something,
Okay.
and we just had our name tags on. And I turned around and I said, "Mike Barr, I read your letters." And he looked and he said, "Bob Rozakis, I read your letters."
See, this is what I mean. You guys, it was a culture. It was a really tight culture back then. It
Yeah,
might be today too, maybe from like maybe the internet has bred that as well. But something about it was really special back then, it seems to me. I wasn't part of it. But I know about it.
yeah.
That's why I'm asking. But I think it's amazing because like I keep thinking about this. And then, I became a quasi professional and I was up at DC and I was a really, really bad intern.
Oh,
Um,
come on. You learned the fine art of Xeroxing.
I was a bad Xeroxer. I nearly screwed up some peanut butter errand for Jeanette Kahn, the publisher at the time. I got yelled at by her assistant. I was just terrible. The next year, I was working in the export department. That was interesting. But then the next year, by the time I was 17, I'd graduated high school, and I was like, I don't want to go to college. I just want to draw comic books. And so, and that's how Amazing Man came up. And I keep thinking, like, it must have been. I've taught. You teach, young people, sometimes I want to throttle them. I just want to kill them. And I never do because that's not my thing. But, you were a seasoned professional. It must have been so frustrating to work with an 18-year-old kid, or was it?
No, you had ideas and you had talent. And what was the first thing? Was it I Baby Vampire the first thing you sold?
Yeah, I sold, there was one page gag to Karen Berger. She was
Yeah.
editing the House of Mystery. Yeah, I sold that. And then I also did stuff in what the production department used to laughingly call new dogs. It was the new talent
Oh,
showcase.
New Talent Showcase.
Yeah.
I think they actually called it New Talent Throw Up. But
Oh, okay. I must have not been there that day. I remember it as new dogs. Um, but okay. Well, so it wasn't a pain in the ass.
no, no.
Okay.
And I mean, you brought in that first Amazing Man story that you had done,
I did. Yeah.
and I said this could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I went, I guess it was to Joe Orlando at the time, and said, we should publish this.
Well, I think what happened was I drew it over the summer after I graduated, and I still have it. Strangely, I unearthed it recently. Because it was never used. And I showed it to Joe Orlando. And Joe said, I don't know what you want me to do with this.
Uh-huh.
And so I was crestfallen, and I went to you because by this time I knew you pretty well. And I showed it to you, and I could see the gears moving in your head. And that was a really great moment for me. That was really, really neat. And we both agreed. We both knew what we wanted, which was to write a sitcom,
Hmm.
a
Yeah,
1970s style sitcom, 1980 style sitcom, for comic books.
yeah,
Um, and and that's what we tried to do for about a year and a half
yeah,
or 2 years, whatever it was, with the specials and stuff. So yeah, so that was pretty good, and we were lucky, and we got a great editor. Alan was the perfect editor, Alan
yeah,
Gold, for us.
yes,
Um, and that worked out pretty well. Yeah, I mean it comes up like it probably for me twice a year, perhaps.
hmm,
Um, it's nice to be remembered. It's nice to be remembered in that way.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They did a collection of something like oddball features of the '80s. DC put together a book, and they left us out. And I was like, how do you not put Amazing Man in here?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking before, there's probably a list of really great stuff that they've never reprinted
Hmm.
either.
Yeah,
It's Angel and the Ape, which has amazing art by,
yeah,
Bob Oxner and Wally Wood.
yeah.
That's never been reprinted. Sheldon Mayer stuff. I mean, Sugar and Spike is well remembered, but
Sugar and Spike should be completely printed from issue 1 to 100.
I totally agree, and I personally don't even think it's his best work.
Mhm.
It's cute, but I like his funny animal stuff, and
Yeah,
I like Scribbly. I really like Scribbly a lot. I think that stuff's truly wonderful. So yeah, so we're in good company. I think it strikes me as a little odd that, and especially it even got into one of the Batman cartoons
yeah,
for a
yes,
second. It just seems strange that and it's not completely forgotten, but it does seem to be completely disavowed by DC.
yeah.
So screw him. How long did you how long did you work for DC? It was a long time.
25 years.
Wow.
I started in '73 and I left in '98.
And you started, I think I know this. How did you started as the driver of the comics mobile?
Well, actually, I started by doing crossword puzzles and word find puzzles.
How did you get that?
I started out, I've been writing letters to Julie forever,
Well, nay, describe forever.
uh, at least 4 or 5 years at that point, and they were getting published regularly.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and so I was in college. I was in my senior year, and I thought, why don't I go and visit? What would it be like to go and visit DC Comics? And so I called up and I get the switchboard and I asked for Julie. And here I am. I'm thinking, this is like calling the White House and saying, can I talk to the president? I'm going to get 12 secretaries who are, and Julie answers the phone. And so I introduced myself. He says, oh, I know who you are. I said, well, I'd like to come up and visit the office. And he said, okay, when? And I was like, Friday? And he was like, sure, come up after
Wow.
lunch. And
Wow. That's
so I
awesome.
had been doing some crossword puzzles and word find puzzles for a couple of fanzines.
Okay.
And I brought them along because I figured Nelson Bridwell would like them because he was, into trivia and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so Nelson at the time shared an office with Julie.
Okay. That makes
This is
sense.
back at 909 Third Avenue.
I was never there, so I'll take your word for it.
And so Julie gets a phone call, and while he's on the phone, I pull out the puzzles and I say to Nelson, I think you'll get a kick out of these. And Julie hangs up the phone, looks at what Nelson had, grabs them out of his hand, and says, "What are those?" I said, "They're puzzles I made up." He said, "Stay right here." And he gets up and leaves. And I was like, "Well, I'm not going to go anywhere." And he comes back about 5 minutes later with Saul Harrison. And
Huh.
Saul says, did you made these up? I said, yeah. He said, could you make up ones just about Superman and just about Batman? And I said, sure. He said, okay, we'll buy them.
That
And I
was
was like,
that was easy.
okay. And I said, how many do you want? And he said, how about 3 Superman, 3 Batman, and 3 Justice League? Because they were just starting
A hundred
the hundred
pages.
page super spectaculars, and
Wow.
they wanted some filler.
They gotta fill it. Yeah.
And so it was like, okay, when do you need them? He says, how soon can you have them? And I was like, how about a week from Monday? He's like, okay, sure. And they gave me press type, and because there was no way to set any type to do the actual grids.
Okay.
And so I went home, and using graph paper and a
Yeah.
felt tip marker
Right.
and then press type. After I made up the puzzle, I now had to make the actual mechanical for the puzzle grid.
Who came up with this that you had to make the actual
I was creating the whole thing.
holy smokes. That
This
seems
was
like a
not like, oh, just bring in the puzzle and somebody else will do it. It's like, no, you do the whole thing. You
oh
make the
wow.
page.
Holy smokes. Do you remember that's like you so you're generating art as well as content.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
And I
All
I
right.
got a whopping $15 a page per puzzle.
Wow. Do you
So
do you remember what page rates were like back then in general?
Um, well, when I started writing, my writing rate was $15 a page.
Okay.
I would guess that the art rates were probably 35 or 40 a page for pencils and
Right.
25 for ink, something like that.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking 1973, so
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing that you remember because as I asked the question, I'm thinking I have no idea what my page rate
yeah.
was
So
initially. So,
so I came back with 9 puzzles. I had done 3 word finds, 3 crosswords, and 3 mazes.
okay.
And the Superman maze was in the shape of the S
The
shield,
S. Wow.
and the Batman one was in the shape of the bat. And I forget the Justice League one. I think was just a big rectangle to fill the page.
Just shaped like the Justice League.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
it was squares.
Square. Yeah, exactly. Right.
and
And Julie bought them.
well, Saul bought them. Saul
Oh,
was the one
okay.
who hired me,
Okay. Got it.
and so then he says, well, they'll start appearing in a couple 3 months. And now this is maybe February, March of 73. So, I'm in the second half of my senior year. And 3 or 4 weeks later, I get a phone call, and it's Midge, Saul's secretary. He says, Saul needs to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe there's a problem with the puzzle. He says, what do you know about Tarzan? And I was in the midst of reading all of Edgar Rice Burroughs at the time.
Right. Okay. It was Kismet.
So it's like, oh, I know plenty. I said, plus all the other characters. I read John Carter and Pellucidar and
Carter.
all the other
Right.
stuff. He
Yep.
says, I need 3 puzzles by Monday. I said,
Wow.
okay. And this was like, I think Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
He says, I need 3 Tarzan puzzles. I said, okay. And so I spent the weekend making these 3 puzzles and went in Monday with them. They were the first ones to appear. They were in the Tarzan limited collector's edition, the big
Okay.
tabloid book.
Right. Yeah.
And
I
so
I
so
have
my
that.
first published work at DC was the 3 Tarzan puzzles in this collection.
Okay.
And
Got
then
it.
the other puzzles started appearing as the 100 pagers were coming out.
Right.
So now I'm getting close to graduation. I've got a degree in accounting, and where am I going to become an accountant?
Right.
And it's like, let me see if I could get a job at DC.
That's
And so
yeah.
I asked Saul, and at the time he had Mike Uslan there as an intern.
Right.
And Michael had been the first one to drive the comic mobile. This was, as we called it, Solly's Folly.
Now, but you explain the comics mobile to me.
Okay.
Does this make sense?
It
Really?
did at the time. There weren't comic book shops. Saul
Right.
looked at it as a way to get comics into areas where kids didn't have ready access to them.
Like
You know,
where?
I mean, well, outside of small towns or even, big in the cities. I mean, you must have gotten your comics at a local candy store or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
where I got all of mine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Local swap
But
shop.
out in other parts of the country, there were none.
Right,
And
but that's what subscriptions were for.
well, yeah, but the subscriptions were never really a big part of the business.
Oh, is that right? Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So it
Saul
it
came
makes
up with this.
sense.
Yeah, Saul came up with this idea of basically an ice cream truck, except we were selling comic books instead of Mr. Softy.
Right.
And so he got a panel van and put all these superhero decals all over it and had "Here Comes the Comic Mobile" on the side of it.
Okay.
And Mike Uslan, who lived at the time in South Jersey, was the first one to drive it. He had been working at DC in the office as an intern and going through uh, all sorts of stuff for Saul. And
Right.
so Saul said, "Well, you're the perfect person." Well, Michael was going back to school at Indiana University and had to leave at the end of July.
Okay.
So Saul hired me. My first job actually was in the office as an editorial assistant. And he gave me a big box of mail and said, "Answer these."
Okay.
And it was, just random mail that, came in that was just addressed to DC Comics, not to a specific book.
Huh.
And so I said, "If I find any of my letters in here, do I need to answer them?" He says, "No."
Oh, that was nice of Saul. That's good.
Yeah. No, you don't have to answer them.
I so miss the Saul impersonations. That's
Steve
a
Mitchell
large.
does the best one, but
That's yeah, but I know it from you mostly. That's a big
what's the
part of
big deal? You bake a
Bidge.
tissue and it's a wrap.
Bidge. Oh, it's that's my favorite. It's not the New York Times.
That's right. It's not the New York Times.
That's I always think of that. I say it to this day actually. Um so but
So anyway, so I come in one more. Actually, he told me, he said, "You're going to be taking over driving the comic mobile and you'll drive it on Long Island rather than in New Jersey because you live on Long Island."
right. Oh,
And
thanks, Sal. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so
That's
I had to go and I had to get peddler's licenses for the town of Hempstead, the town of North Hempstead, the town of Oyster Bay, the town of Huntington.
oh wow.
Each township in Nassau and Suffolk has their own thing.
You cover a lot of ground in that case.
Yeah. Well, Lori was living in Huntington at the time, so I figured I would
So
go
you
in
were
that
gonna
direction.
go in that way
And
anyway.
I mean, I lived in Elmont, so that was the town of Nassau, and in between was North Hempstead and Oyster Bay. So I was like, all right, I'll just,
So
go.
was this like, but it was like a pilot idea, just
Yeah,
like
it was
let's
this
okay.
was the test.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
And the idea was there was going to be a fleet of these things across America.
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
when we proved how successful it was going to be, then there would be, they'd get some company that would be willing to license out the idea.
Okay. How
So
successful was it?
gas was 20 cents and we made enough money to pay for the gas.
I was gonna how many customers did you have a day?
I had a regular contingent. One of the things that happened was Mike in Jersey was able to go to the parks, the beaches, the schools, all the different places where people would
That
congregate.
makes
The
sense.
day
Yeah,
I went
kids
down
stuff.
to get it, we went to a local beach and just parked right by the boardwalk. And I mean, there's an ice cream guy over here and a hot dog guy over here, and here's the comic mobile.
Okay.
In Nassau and Suffolk County, I couldn't go near the parks, the schools, the beaches, or any place else the kids might be.
Okay. The
I
city
was left to
ordinances.
driving up and down the streets, ringing a bell because there was no Comic Man music or anything. And the bell was not attached to the van because the van was rented. So I had
Okay.
to hang it out, my arm out the window, ringing the bell, which of course prompted a number of kids to come out expecting to buy a creamsicle.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah.
And here I
Yeah.
am instead, selling them comic
Right.
books.
Hey, would you like Binky's Buddies
Yeah.
today? How about yeah, how about Weird Western, son?
Yeah. Here we
Um
go.
yeah.
So, I mean, the DC line was much more diverse at the time. I mean, it wasn't just the
Yeah.
superheroes.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had
Comics
the
were a lot more
westerns, we
diverse.
had the war books, we had the romance comics,
Right.
we had a whole variety, and we had Plop.
Right.
The first issue of Plop was the biggest seller for Mike and for me. It
Wow.
outsold like the next 10 titles combined.
Okay. Wow.
They would buy other comics and, swap them back and forth. Everybody wanted their own copy of Plop.
Mm,
And after they had the first one, they were like, well, when's the next one? And it was, like coming out the second or third week in August. And here I am, this is the first week in August. And it's
right.
like, well, it's a couple more weeks. I gotta have more Plop.
Yeah.
And
You'd think Plop would have lasted longer.
yeah, you would have. I mean,
It,
considering how they wanted it.
yeah.
But um so Plop finally came in, and I made sure that I got at least 100 copies, and I sold all of them because
Wow.
it was like, okay, this is the big seller.
That's pretty
We
cool.
had lots of back issues too. It wasn't just like, oh, I only have the current issue. So I mean, there we had some long boxes in there with long runs of things like Batman and Brave and Bold and Superman and
How
Action
far
Comics.
back?
Couple you easily.
Wow.
So you had 20 some odd issues of Action and Detective.
Yeah.
And
Jesus.
anything else that was coming out monthly was, we were getting on a regular basis.
Yeah. Aside from Plop, like the big sellers I would think would be Superman and Batman, right?
Yeah. Actually, Brave and Bold outsold Batman and Detective Comics. They liked Batman teamed up with people rather than just on his own.
Well, I kind of did too, but for me it was probably about Jim Aparo's art.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was pretty cool back then.
So
So,
so then I did that for, I guess, about 6 weeks.
okay.
And then school started and all the kids were back in school. And so there was no play, I was not going to just go out for an hour in the afternoon,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So that was we brought the comic mobile back, and then Saul sent it down to Bruce Hamilton, who was a comics dealer down in Arizona or New Mexico.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And Bruce and the comic mobile had a mishap with a semi, and that was the end of the comic mobile. Bruce was
Okay.
fine, but the comic mobile was lost to history at that point.
Well, I have a feeling it was always going to be lost to history.
Yes. The
Um,
best thing that came out of it was the direct research that Michael and I put together
okay.
about what the kids wanted, what books were selling, dinosaurs. They loved dinosaurs, which is why Weird War Tales then went to the whole, every month was another dinosaur story from, the war that time forgot, those reprints.
Right. Okay. So this was hard evidence
Yep.
as opposed to Carmine Infantino's theories. These were just
Yes.
theories about what sells.
Yeah. Well, what was selling Marvel comics, according to Murray Boltinoff, was red titles.
He might have been right, but
Yeah. Their
but
logos are a lot more red logos than we have. So that's why they're outselling us.
that's well, I
And
mean, maybe. But yeah, so Carmine's theories were like purple and gorillas on the
yeah,
cover.
well, gorillas sold, but dinosaurs sold better.
Dinosaurs sold.
Yeah.
Okay. But you
Yeah.
guys you guys knew. You went out in the streets, you found
Yeah. I
out.
mean, we were talking to the kids, and we would, show them different books and, see what they pick. I mean, they in terms of the stuff with the horror comics, the mystery titles, the girls liked them more than the boys. And the
That's
scarier they were, the more the girls liked them.
wow, that's really cool. That's
Yeah.
neat. And boys liked, yeah, dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs, they liked the superhero books.
Yeah.
Some of them liked the war books.
Okay.
Um, there were a couple of people who, they knew I was coming because I worked out a regular route, so I did one area on Monday and another on Tuesday and everything like that. And so there was this one kid actually lived in Elmont,
Okay.
and he said, I missed an issue of Commandy like 3 months ago. Can you get it for me? And so I was picking books up at the warehouse, which was in Secaucus.
Okay.
And once a week I'd go, and it was basically I was picking up returns and books that never got shipped out,
Okay.
so I had current stuff. But I was also going into the office, and in the DC library, there was this whole bookcase right inside the door of all the extra copies of everything.
Wow.
And so I would go in and I'd say, oh, okay, let me get a run of these and let me get a few of those and this and that. And, so I just pull stuff. And
Wow.
so that resulted in Joe Orlando almost having me arrested because
Okay.
I was in there pulling out books and putting them in a box. And Joe
Okay.
walks by and he looks and he sees me and he runs down to Saul. He says, Saul, some kid is stealing comics out of the library. And Saul comes back up the hall and he looks and he says, that's ROZAKIS.
No, we
And
didn't
so
know
I never
you.
let Joe forget it that he tried to have me arrested.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't have let Joe forget that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It reminds me that how comics, yeah, because comics just distribution back then was not what it is today by any
Oh
means.
no,
Like,
there was no direct distribution. It was only the newsstands.
right, but you could just miss, like, I remember, one of the titles that I absolutely loved was The Teen Titans, written by Mr. Bob Rozakis. And it was like the Teen Titans East meets the Teen Titans West. Now
Ah, okay.
I couldn't miss this, right? I knew it
Right.
was coming. I couldn't miss this. I met everybody I know in the neighborhood know they had to look out for this because there was no guarantee I was going to find the issues. I mean, it was
Yeah.
really spotty back then. You just
Yeah.
was you weren't sure what you were going to get. So and I'm thankfully I did manage to get. It was a 3 issue series, right?
Yep.
It was a
Yeah.
3 issue
Yep.
arc.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Was that your idea? Was it Julie was editing, by the
That
way,
was
right?
my idea. It was Jack Harris was the editor at that point.
Ah, okay. Okay.
But,
Because yeah, you remembered Narc and
yeah, and
Lilith
well,
and
brought
okay.
brought back Hawk and
Hawk and
Dove
Dove.
and
Right.
Batgirl
Right.
and
Yeah, the original Batgirl.
yeah, and Beast Boy.
And Beast Boy. That's right. You paved the way for Marv Wolfman.
Yeah,
How often do people come up to you and say, I loved your Teen Titans?
a couple times a year.
Okay. Do you still
you
go
know,
do you still go to cons?
I haven't been except for a small convention up in Utica that I've gone to fairly regularly. I haven't been to conventions in years.
Okay.
I
Okay.
did the last big one I think I did was the Terrificon in Connecticut, and that was probably 2019, 2018, somewhere around there.
Okay. Well, yeah, I don't go to conventions either, and that's probably why we hear about our DC work twice a year.
Yeah,
I suspect if we went more, we'd hear more
yeah.
about how people loved our Teen Titans or Amazing Man. But yeah, I love that. Yeah, I can get more into your work, other work too. But explain to us. So I want to get back to this community. Yeah, Michael Uslan was a woodchuck. Who else? Who are the other woodchucks? And the woodchucks is based on the Karl Barks.
Well, that's where the name came from.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, Saul had started. Um, he called it the Junior Bullpen Program, and
Okay.
actually, we weren't part of the Junior Bullpen Program. I mean, I got a job as an editorial assistant. Alan Asherman was already there.
Right.
Carl Gafford and Steve Mitchell were working in the production department.
Okay.
Um, who else was Guy Lillian
Right.
was working as an editorial assistant,
Right.
and Paul Levitz,
Right.
and I think that was the original bunch of us, and Nelson who they decided they had to lump him in with us because he was an assistant editor. He wasn't an editor.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so Saul came up with this idea because I mean Levitz originally used to come in and gather up information, visiting once a week so he could put out the comic reader.
Right.
And there were other fanzine editors who were regularly coming in or calling or whatever. And Saul came up with this idea of we should publish our own fan magazine. We have fans who work for us.
Right.
And so he came up with the Amazing World of
World
DC
of DC.
Comics. And so when he came up with this idea, he said to me, "Go get the other kids. I want to have a meeting." And so I went around and I said, "Saul wants to have a meeting of the Junior Woodchucks."
So you
And
coined the phrase Junior
I coined the
Woodchuck.
phrase, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And everybody else was like, "The what?" I said, "He wants us, the Junior Woodchucks, to come." And so we just started calling ourselves the Junior Woodchucks.
Okay. All
And
right.
then when we started Amazing World of DC Comics, we called ourselves the Woodchucks in it.
That's right. That's right.
So it was like, okay, the name stuck.
Well, that's how I know because
Yeah.
it actually appeared in print a lot.
Yeah.
And who like Kupperberg and Jack Harris, they became woodchucks, right?
Jack Harris, Kupperberg didn't. He didn't come in until like 1980.
Oh, okay.
Um, Guy Lillian left and Jack came in. Um, Tony Tollin came in,
Right.
and that's who else? John Workman,
Right.
a couple of the other young guys who came in. But there was basically the original core, and then Tony and Guy,
Okay.
and we did, I guess, the first 10 or so issues, by ourselves, and put together all of the stuff in it, and
Right.
did the interviews and everything else.
Those are great magazines. I
Oh
still
yeah,
love them.
there's a trove of stuff in those.
Yeah, they're pretty wonderful. Do you remember this is just kind of like hitting me because Marvel's fan magazine would have already been out by then, right? Foom?
I don't think so.
You really? I thought
Uh,
Foom, I wouldn't know.
I mean,
But
I think they started the Merry Marvel Marching Society started
right,
before,
right.
because
Yeah.
I know I have my membership card someplace.
Oh wow.
Because, well, I was reading Marvels too. I wasn't just reading DC.
You were, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I
Hey.
could have just as easily been making up Spider-Man and Fantastic Four puzzles
Hey, I
had
read
I gone to
Charlton's.
visit Stan instead.
I read Charlton's. I was, an equal opportunity uh
Yeah.
reader
Well,
myself.
I presume, had a candy store or whatever nearby, like the one I went to, that pretty much got everything.
They got everything. And for some reason, this one store like excelled at having Charlton comics.
Ah,
Like you weren't sure if like they had the latest detective or action, but you knew that they had like Pebbles and Bam Bam
uh-huh.
for whatever reason. And not even like, oh, I want my latest Harvey, get Casper the Friendly Ghost or something like that.
Yeah.
You might not see it there, but they definitely had the Charltons. I don't know what was
Yeah.
going
Well,
on.
Charlton, I think it was doing their own distribution too, so it was probably a separate deal.
There was probably a guy that came in and
Yeah,
and
and he was
forced
just
it.
like, "Here, take these comics."
Yeah, right. But do you remember? Do you remember? But do you remember like the culture at DC back then? Because like that's the early '70s is sort of when like the flip flop. I mean, it already happened, but like Marvel was clearly in the lead now all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Not that happened at the end of the '60s, right?
When Marvel became, yeah, I don't know when they were actually outselling DC, but I mean they were
Okay.
certainly the comic book company by the end of the 60s, and certainly into the early 70s.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, DC was the stodgy old veteran, and Marvel was
Yeah.
the exciting new upstart.
Right. Yeah. Was there like a like because I've heard things where like People were like, well, they're ugly. Maybe we should make uglier comics, or like
Oh,
DC just
well,
was
they, as I
scratching their
said,
heads.
like Murray said, it was, their red logos. That was why they were outselling us.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And, I mean, they were just things that, they were on top of, that we weren't. And,
yeah,
I mean, I remember Denny O'Neil at every, I guess it was once a month, maybe it was more often, but we had the editorial meeting and we kids got to sit in on the meeting.
wow,
And Denny kept proposing a martial arts comic. He says martial arts are big, martial arts are hot, they were all over the movies. You had the Jackie Chan movies and the all of that stuff was hot. And he kept
yeah,
saying, we need to do a martial arts comic. And
right,
Carmine would be like, yeah, 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 no. Shut up, Denny. I mean, Denny was just a half a grade above the kids.
right,
I
right.
mean, they would never listen to us.
Oh, of course not.
So,
Yeah,
yeah. And so then Marvel came out with Master of Kung Fu,
Master of Kung Fu. Yeah.
and it was a big hit. And now all of a sudden, Carmine says, Denny, we need that martial arts book. So they started Richard Dragon right as the whole craze was ending.
There you
And then
go.
he referred to it as DC Misses the Boat Comics.
That's a good title.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I brought that one back remember when the Flash was on TV the one year with the John Wesley Shipp show back in the
yeah,
90s.
yep.
We came out with a Flash TV special after the series went off the air. And I
Okay.
said, oh, Denny would love this. DC Misses the Boat Comics.
Yeah, yeah. Well, DC had gotten a little bit better by then,
Mm,
right?
yeah, somewhat.
A little bit. Yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, for a company that had all of this stuff that was in the movies and on TV, we never really cashed in on it. We
right.
talked a lot about when Smallville came on, they could have just taken all those old 60s and early 70s Superboy stories from
Right.
Adventure and Superboy, slapped a photograph of Gerard Christopher or whatever his name was
Yeah,
on it and called it Superboy TV Comics,
right.
and they would have been just fine.
Yeah, probably. The DC did pretty well with the Christopher Reeve movies, though. I mean, they did come out with the Treasury edition, commemorative,
Yeah, for the
um,
first one,
for the first one.
and
I
I
remember
wrote
the
the
second one.
adaptation of the fourth one, which was by far the worst Superman movie ever.
Yeah, I don't consider that a Superman movie,
Yeah,
actually. I
well,
consider that a schlock movie,
yeah, well, I mean, the
myself.
only one worse maybe was number three, which was a Richard Pryor movie that guest starred Superman.
Yeah, that also wasn't that good,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's
yeah.
not so good. This is true. Was your goal always? I remember you said your goal was always to write Justice League, right? That's
And I
what,
never did.
and you never did.
No, the closest I got was that strange sports stories with the superheroes versus the supervillains in the baseball game.
True, but you also got close when you wrote Detective, when
Oh,
you
with the
wrote The
calculator.
Calculator,
Yeah, yeah,
and you had a good chunk of the Justice League as a
yeah,
backup until they all teamed up. I
yeah.
love that. I thought that was great. What was the first script that you had published?
It was a Robin story
Where was that?
in Detective 445, I think.
Who drew it?
Mike Grell. It was Mike Grell's third art job for DC.
Okay. I think I probably know it. The one that always hits me immediately is the Parking Lot Bandit.
Yeah.
Drawn by Al Milgrom
Hmm.
and Terry Austin inked
Terry
it.
Austin. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful job, and it looked great. And I mean, I was a voracious Batman reader back then, but like it was like the Parking Lot Bandit that really like I was like, damn, Robin is cool. Um, I thought that was neat. So was that like the second or third thing you drew?
That was the third one. The
Okay.
second one was Puzzle of the Pyramids. It was another Robin backup. And
Okay.
that one was drawn by a couple of South American artists, I think that Neil Adams was pushing. And
Wow. I
and
don't
if
know that
if
at
you
all.
look at the artwork, you can see there's a couple of panels where Neil drew Robin, not these two guys. Because
Neil, yeah, he would do
yeah,
that.
I mean that would be the kind of thing, I'm pushing these artists. Well, I got to make their stuff look good. So there's
Right.
this giant shot of Robin on the first page that, you look at it and say,
Okay.
Neil drew that. They didn't do this. Look at the rest of the pages.
Neil's kind of noticeable too, is the thing. You
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
really
It's not
know when
like
it's
his
Neil.
artwork kind of blends in.
No, not so much. You always
Yeah,
kind of know when it's Neil. I mean,
yeah,
Superman, Spider-Man there's a lot of Neil in there. It's kind of
yeah.
cool. Um, And then how and then what other books did you like start accumulating as a writer? Well, actually, let me ask you this. You were trained you went to school as an accountant.
Yeah.
Like was your family like, what are you doing? Or and
Oh yeah.
did you feel like what am I doing? Why am I driving a truck selling comic
Well,
books?
when I showed up at the house with the comic mobile, my father said, "You went to college to drive a comic book truck?"
Yeah. You get older and you must have thought asking questions of your kids like that too.
Yeah. Like,
You know,
why did I send you to college?
yeah,
You,
you
you could have
want
done
things to
this,
make sense,
without 4 years.
right? Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but about a year later, when I started giving him copies of the books that I had written with my name in them, and he could give them away to people,
Okay.
then it was okay.
Okay. But you never had doubts. You were just like, no, 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 this is what I want to do.
Yeah. Well, it was like this opportunity's here, so I'm taking it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, I had wanted to write the comics, so and
Right.
initially when I went up to visit Julie, that was my goal, was to see if I could get a try at writing a script.
Right. Would do you remember not published, but do you remember when you started writing stories?
Uh, not I mean any kind of stories.
Yeah, yeah. When you just started coming up with stories and writing them down, before you got published.
Fourth grade,
Okay. Wow.
when we got the list of spelling words and you had to use them in sentences, and so I would turn the whole thing into a story.
Okay.
And
That's neat.
I did the Adventures of Silly Billy. And so every week we had the list of spelling words, and I came up with an adventure of Silly Billy, and
Okay.
that involved all the spelling words that we had for the week.
Adventures of Silly Billy. I can see this. I sincerely think you and I should get on the phone tomorrow with the heads of DC and try and pitch that
I
because
think, yeah,
I can totally see that. I'm coming up with a design for him already. I think this is gonna be our ticket, Bob. This is gonna be
it
our
could
ticket
be, yeah.
back into DC's good graces again.
I,
Yeah, so
I,
you
I could,
were
I could, it could be a TV series.
probably it would
Yeah,
have to be. I
yeah,
think everything has to be now, or a video game,
or both.
or both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the
So
video game, you get to, here's two different words. Which way are you going?
well, that's good. I mean, okay, we're already thinking, we're brainstorming. Yeah, so you were just always coming up with stories.
Yeah,
What was the
yeah.
first do you remember the first comic you bought?
First comic I bought was either Felix the Cat or Casper the Friendly Ghost when I was about
Wow.
6.
Okay.
The first
Okay.
Superman comic I got was a World's Finest. It was Superman and Batman. It's like World's Finest 90 something. Superman and Batman had superpowers and they were fighting each other.
Well, Batman had superpowers like,
Every third issue of
every third
World's
issue.
Finest. Yeah.
Yeah, that just to geek out for a minute. That book in the 60s, it's beautiful. It looks great. Kurt Swan
Yeah.
was doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
But, even earlier actually, saying to the Dick Sprang, it was always
Yeah.
like, gee, Batman's not very special. Superman's awfully special. Even Robin likes Superman better. I guess we'll have to figure out something to do with Batman kind of around.
Yeah.
That's how that book went for like
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
years or something.
Yeah.
It's
It's
really
like
strange.
Batman will get powers, or Superman will lose his powers,
Right. Right.
or there's an alien that can defeat Superman, but Batman with his brains is able to defeat the alien.
Right, and it's only because Batman got a hit TV show that all of a sudden Batman was Superman's equal.
Yeah,
All of a sudden Batman was a big deal.
yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember when you first realized that Batman had a TV show?
Oh yeah, when I saw the thing in probably on TV Guide, or I saw the commercial for it coming, and thinking, oh, this is going to be great. Having been reading the comics, and I read them before Julie took over, and then after, and there's light years difference because of
There's
course,
light years difference. I read them recently.
yeah. I mean,
It's
you look at
extraordinary.
the pre-Julie stuff, and there's three things that happen. Batman becomes some strange version of Batman.
Right?
There's some alien monster,
Right?
or there's some crazy gimmick villain who will only appear once.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and yeah, the Batgirl and Batwoman trying to trick, Batman and Robin into marrying them or something.
Yeah,
Those were sort of receding into the distance, and
yeah.
certainly the Joker wasn't plying his trade too much in
No, the
those
Joker
days
was just
either.
a clown who robbed banks
Yeah,
and really just did it to vex Batman.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Did you like the Batman TV show?
Initially, no, I hated it because it was
Oh,
not
okay,
Batman. It was like this is a farce. You know,
okay, all
uh,
right.
I mean, now I look back at it and say, oh, this was really clever. You know,
I
and
watched them all recently. I think they're amazing. But
yeah.
I'm a little younger and I grew up with them. That's always going to be my idea of Batman.
Uh-huh.
To me.
Well, just like my idea of Superman is George Reeves.
Okay.
I grew up watching that. So
Okay. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
kind of thing. I mean that's Superman.
Yeah. I
Jeepers,
know.
Jeepers, Mr. Kent.
Yeah. I think often about like what a great metropolitan newspaper looks like back then. It's
Yeah.
it's
It has
an
two reporters and a cub reporter.
and it's a nondescript office that
Yes.
a white headed haired guy in a suit is always yelling in.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't watched those in a quite in since I was a child. I guess I never thought those were terribly exciting, but it's the stuff that you grew up with that
Yeah,
really
exactly.
leaves an impression.
Yeah.
So what was it like to like get more books to write? Like how did that start happening? Like you went
But
from like writing backups for of Robin to like getting actual books to write.
well, they started expanding again.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, now there's stuff up for grabs, and okay, we're assistant editors, and we're also trying to get writing jobs. So it's, well, I'll give one to you if you give one to me, and so it was, I'll write this, and hey, you want to write that, and
What was
you
the
know
first full book you wrote?
hmm, maybe Teen Titans. I'm
Yeah, I'm
trying to
wondering.
think, because
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at the chronology, because I mean I did a couple of detectives leading up to the calculator.
Nah, this would have been before.
Yeah.
Teen Titans would have been before that. So the first issue of the revived Teen Titans book was written by Paul
Well, the
Levitz.
two of us together, he did the plot, and then I did
Right.
the script or the dialogue, however you want to call it. But
Right. That's right. And then
yeah.
and Julie was editing it. So
Well,
and
Joe Orlando was editing the first issue. Then they gave it to
oh,
Julie,
okay.
and Julie decided he wanted to work with me rather than work with Paul.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's how I got that writing
That's
assignment,
how you got the
because
book.
I was writing Robin already. So it was like, oh well, you write one teenage character, you can write all the teenage
It's a
characters.
shoe-in. It makes
It makes
sense.
perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. Go get
Yes,
me some bean soup. You created a Harlequin before anybody knew who a Harlequin was.
that's
These
true. As the
days,
Joker's daughter.
the
Yep.
Joker's daughter. That also was a multi issue lead up to
Yep.
discovering who this villainess was. That was pretty cool.
Yep.
Um,
And Bumblebee.
and you created the Bumblebee. That's right.
I mean, the first black super heroine.
That's right. And she still has legs. She's still around.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I have an action figure of her
I have one here,
someplace.
actually.
And you probably get like checks like every day for the creation of her, right? I'm
Not every
thinking.
day, but yes, I do get
Oh,
royalties when they use her in different things, and
really? That's great. Thank God, because I,
yes,
I was thinking like, geez, I don't think they probably pay Bob at all.
yeah.
But that's
No, no,
good.
I get money for Bumblebee, Joker's daughter, Calculator. When they used the calculator in the Batman Lego movie,
Okay,
that was really something.
that's
So
pretty cool.
here we go.
Wow. Wow, cool. Pretty neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So so that one, and that was the first time I had my name on the screen at the end, in the special thanks thing.
Right. Okay. I
It's
didn't
like,
miss that.
well, I knew it was there, and so I sat through the all of the credits. Everybody else is gone out of the theater, and I'm the only
Right.
one left, and there's my name.
Right. Okay. I'll look for that the next time I watch that.
Oh, it's all
That's
you just scroll through to the very end because those special thanks things is like the next to last credit
that's
after
true.
everyone in the free world is listed as an animator.
That's right. Yeah, and then the caterers are
Yeah.
listed, and the people who drove the actors
The,
around
the
are
the
listed.
guy who made the peanut butter sandwiches that the caterers served, and
Peanut butter sandwich guys.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's face it, they're important.
Yeah.
All you
It's
did
funny,
was
we
create the
just watched a
characters.
couple of old Hitchcock movies, and the credits are over in like 1 minute
I
or
know.
less. It's like there's the six guys, here's six more. There we go, we're done.
I know. I know. It's great. That's great. And those people were well paid too back then, you know?
That's true.
And they were part of a team. So
Yeah.
it was like, you just let it go. You just
Yeah.
didn't
Like, I don't
expect.
need my name on the screen. Give me money.
That's right. That's right. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
What's the thing you're proudest of having written?
Uh, I don't know. There's been a variety of things, but Amazing Man would be one of them, definitely.
Okay.
Um,
What's like three things?
Amazing Man, Hero Hotline.
Really?
Yeah. Because I,
Well,
I, I really think that could have gone a lot further, and they just didn't give it the opportunity.
you know what? Yeah, I keep asking about Amazing Man. I haven't said anything about Hero Hotline. It's funny. For whatever reason, I did. Someone asked in the past week for a sketch of Diamond Debt, and I'm
Okay.
like, that's a blast from the past. I actually had to look her up to see what she looked like, and there was like fan art, recent fan art
Oh,
of.
wow.
And it wasn't even just, it was the night shift. It wasn't even the day shift.
Oh,
someone someone drew that with Zeep. And Mrs. Terrific. I put these characters in the background once.
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
Marie the talking turtle.
Marie the talking turtle, that's right. So it dawned on me, it's like, you that was your idea. You spearheaded that.
Yeah.
And it strikes me as like, how did they fumble that? Because this is a no-brainer. This is like you came up with it as like nighttime television dramedy.
Yeah. I called it Hill Street Blues in costumes.
Right. I probably mucked it up. In truth, I probably wasn't the guy to draw it.
Oh, sure you were.
I'm glad I did because I really have a lot of affection for it. Yeah, I could probably draw it. I can draw it much better now. I wasn't capable back then, I was lucky to have. We were lucky to have the great Kurt Schaffenberger ink it. But
Hmm.
I don't think I was the guy. Maybe if somebody else had drawn it, it would have had a little more legs, like Joe Staton or something like that. I'm not trying to be falsely modest, but it's a great idea. It's really weird how DC just big surprise, DC fumbled something, but
Hmm.
that should have been something. It feels like
Yeah. Well, we did our six, and we did the prequel in Action
an
Comics
Action
Weekly.
Comics Weekly. That's right. Sometimes
Yeah,
I
that
forget
was
about that.
after we had done the first issue, and they're like, okay, well, now this is going to come out before that. And it was like, all right, now what am I going to do? And that's when I came up with the idea of, okay, here's where Hotshot joins the team.
Right,
And just came up with, how did he get his name? Okay, Hotshot.
right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. And I would say, let me guess the third thing you're most proud of. It's got to be your Superman Year One. What's it called?
Secret Years.
Secret Years. Superman
Yeah,
Secret Years. I bet you that's your third,
yeah, that would
the
probably be
proudest
my
moment.
third. Yeah,
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty
yeah.
neat.
Well, I mean, that was taking a period that nobody really had ever covered. I mean,
No,
Superboy ends
strangely.
when he leaves Smallville, and Superman begins when he works at the Daily Planet, but he went to college in between, and there were maybe half a dozen stories that were done that referred to his college years at all. I mean, the Laurie the Mermaid being the most famous
Right,
of the ones in there.
right.
But so it started as a backup series in Superman,
Uh-huh.
and it
Right.
was it was the in between years was what Julie decided to call it first.
Okay.
And so I introduced the characters and started building up the different things that and kind of throwing in Easter eggs that, oh, this is going to turn up and that's going to turn up. If you
Right.
read the regular books, that where this is going, kind
Right,
of
right,
thing.
right, right.
And then when I got the approval to do the mini series, which I had proposed as a maxi series because I wanted to do 3 issues for each year of college, and they said no, 4 is enough. And I think at that point they already knew they were trying to woo John Byrne and to come over and throw everything out the window. And so they figured,
Which
okay,
they quickly did, yeah.
yeah.
But
Um,
who drew that series? Was it
that was
Kurt Swan and
Swan and Schaffenberger,
Schaffenberger? Right. It was
because we
beautiful.
wanted the look that was kind of in between Superman and
And
Superboy. And
Superboy.
Swan was doing Superman and Schaffenberger was doing
Doing
Superboy.
Superboy. Yeah. And the covers were drawn by your good
My
friend,
my pal Frank Miller.
your pal Frank Miller,
Yes.
who also drew the cover to issue, or part of the cover really, to issue 12 of Amazing Man.
Yep.
Do you know how that issue sold? Did it sell well? Issue
Oh, it
12?
sold well enough. We got 3 specials out of it.
That's, well, I guess
Because
that's true.
that was the thing, that when they told me first they were going to cancel Amazing Man with number 10, I said, no, you gave us a 12 issue deal.
Okay.
And my wife has given me a flashlight in case the power goes out,
Okay.
or I can do spooky things.
Okay. Things just got to creepy in our conversation. Um
so
yeah. No, no.
so then I decided, when they said, okay, only 4 issues, I said, all right, I'll do just his junior year and focus on how he decides he's no longer Superboy, he's Superman.
Right.
And the whole premise of, he realizes that, okay, I've got all these powers and I can't save everybody.
Right. Right.
Whereas Superboy, he's stopping a bank robbery, he's, doing whatever minor things in Smallville, and the occasional alien that comes to visit. And but I played off the whole idea that he couldn't save Jor-El and Lara. He
Right.
couldn't save the Kents.
Couldn't save the Kents. Yep.
And then he has his friend Billy, who he can't save either because he's busy saving an entire island of people who are about to get washed away in a tsunami, and decides that, okay, I have to recognize that, this is the onus that's on me, that, I can do the best I can, but I can't save everybody.
Right. It just reminds me. Yeah, the character was, there was something really special about Superman back then.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something special about Superman, but um he was, kindness was just a huge part of the books back then. A sort of
Yeah.
like, the sensibility that they were really kind of there to save people.
Yeah. Well,
Not
it's
to
I
have
have these
perpetual
powers, and
wars.
yeah, I have these powers and it's my job to use them to help people.
Yeah, and and being a nice guy wasn't a joke, wasn't a punchline back then.
No.
It wasn't even thought of. He was just Superman. He
Yeah.
was
he-
everybody's big brother. He
Yeah.
was just like, the best.
Yeah. Well, he was
Um,
the Super Boy Scout, and there was nothing wrong with being the
there
Super
was
Boy
nothing
Scout.
wrong with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
back then. So, yeah, but it's just making me remember what a joy. I mean, the books were great back then. Kurt Swan drawing everything.
Oh yeah.
Things were just so beautiful. But I want to throw this at you, and then we'll wrap up with you. So the thing that I say to people a lot about Amazing, getting back to Amazing Man too, is like, when I was a kid and it sold, I was like, wow, they must really think like it's a great idea. That's why it
Hmm.
sold. And then it was only like maybe in the last 15 years that I thought like, wait a minute, Bob was a vice president.
Actually, I wasn't, but
But Bob was an executive
yes. Okay.
and a writer. He was an
Mm.
executive working at DC. You were in charge of the production department by that point,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, what are they gonna do? Turn it down? What are they gonna do? Make Bob unhappy? Like, of course they bought it. Of course they bought it. Like, what was I thinking? I mean, it just shows you how young people think versus like, people with a lot of experience under their
Well,
belts.
I would say that if I hadn't been working on staff, that they might have given it, 6 issues. They certainly wouldn't have gone past the 10th, because that was what they were going to do, was cancel it.
Right, yeah.
And when I said, well, how if the sales go up in the 11th and 12th, can we get a special? And so they, yeah, sure, Bob, whatever. And then I got Frank to do the cover
You
on
got Frank to do the cover. Yeah, you
on number
guys.
12, and so we had, the built-in Dark Knight crazies who's, oh, I gotta get it, it's got Dark Knight.
Right, did you right? And they a lot of them were unhappy and sent torn up issues back to the office
But they bought them, so it
with
doesn't matter.
disgust. But they bought them,
Yeah, they
so
got their money.
we were fine. We didn't care. Yeah, yeah. And you pitched that to Frank like around no, it would have to been after Ronin. It was as you guys were
Well, it was what
producing
they was doing.
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, yeah,
You were
Dark
doing
Knight was
Dark Knight.
already coming out at that point, because
Right.
we did the play on it. So,
Right.
but
And that's,
but
I mean,
Frank liked the book, and so it wasn't a matter of, gee, Frank, do me a favor and draw this cover. And he was like, he would tell me, he says, oh, I like reading this. This is fun. And I said,
that's cool.
well, would you do a cover?
Oh, I'm so tired of getting fan letters from Frank Miller. I can't tell you. It's tiresome. It's really tiresome, Bob. Let me
Dear
throw you
Stephen,
some.
when I grow up, I want to be like you.
Yeah, yeah. That's I'm so sick of hearing that. Let me throw some questions at you. Quick
Okay.
questions. What's the first comic book story that enters your head right now?
Um, Mr. E.
Whoa, that was a good that was a good series. That was a
Yeah.
really good series. That was
I
drawn
had
by
a lot
Dan
of fun with that
Spiegel.
because, we did kind of historical reference kind of things, and just the whole, I like the whole concept of
Yeah, that was neat. That was really neat. Anybody that does, I mean, DC ever done anything else with that character?
it. They turned him into a, crazed lunatic in the Vertigo world.
Okay, well,
But
then let's not talk about it.
yeah, it was like, okay, well, I don't own the character, so I guess, they can
Yeah,
do
that's the
whatever they
thing.
want. And the,
We
the
don't
whole
own these
thing with,
characters.
how he became blind. And I mean, the line I used with Jack Harris, who was the editor,
Right.
about why is he blind, and I said, I'm going to Simon and Garfunkel. I am blinded by the light of God and truth and right, and that's why all he can see is evil.
It always comes down to Simon and Garfunkel when Bob and I are around
That's
somehow.
true.
It's
That's
always it's
true.
always Simon and Garfunkel. Who's the best Justice League hero? Who's the best hero in Justice League?
Superman.
Really?
No.
I don't know. I mean,
Uh,
so many Justice Leaguers. But I
yeah. Well,
thought,
I mean, of the one, okay,
but look,
of
as
the
Jerry
ones I wrote,
Seinfeld says,
I really enjoyed, as individuals. I liked writing elongated man stories.
Okay, you wrote a
And I
lot of
always thought I
non-Caveman
wrote more of them
stories.
than I actually did. I think I've only written 3 or 4, but I always thought I wrote a whole bunch of them.
It feels like you wrote a whole bunch of them, but maybe
Yeah.
you only wrote 3 or 4. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Um,
but as Jerry Seinfeld says, like, if you have Superman, do you really need the Justice League? I mean, isn't he just like a
well,
one
as
man?
though all those 1960s issues of World's Finest proved,
All
there
right.
was
Yes.
always some kind of alien or villain who could
There's always
defeat
something.
Superman, and you needed Batman with his smarts to
Always
come
something
and
gonna. Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. Always something gonna take Superman
So,
down. That poor guy.
who else in the Justice League? I liked writing Hawkman, and I liked writing Aquaman.
I loved you did write a lot of Aquaman. I know I love that. And I loved anything Hawkman. I was always ready to read Hawkman no matter what. No
Yeah,
matter and he often had really good artists on him too.
yeah.
He's one
Well,
of
we
those
had quite a
characters.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I really liked
So
writing Airwave when I was doing Airwave in the back of Action Comics.
Airwave. Yeah, you resuscitated. No, you didn't resuscitate that character.
No, it was
Denny did
Denny
in
did in
Green
an issue of
Lantern.
Green Lantern
Yeah,
and introduced him as Hal's cousin,
right, because his last name is Jordan. Right.
and his first name was also Hal.
Oh, okay.
The
That I didn't
original air,
remember.
well, the young Airwave was Hal Jordan, and his
Okay.
father was Larry, but he was
Okay.
he was Hal's cousin.
Okay.
And but that was one of those because I nobody else was using the character, so I had complete control over what was going on with him, where he was doing, and everything that was happening.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked it. And then my last question. Let's see if this goes funny. Sometimes it does. Can you name an artist or writer that you didn't like their work as when you were younger, but that you've grown to appreciate their work now?
Joe Kubert.
Whoa, that's
when
surprising.
when Joe
Okay,
drew superheroes.
Joe
There
was
were a few
great at
times
drawing
where
superheroes.
Julie had him do a Justice League cover or something like that, and I was like, this is not superhero. This is not the superheroes the way they're supposed to look.
I think I was actually in the room when Julie made fun of Joe for the way he drew Superman, which is very, very funny because Joe was, genius level
Yeah.
comics artist.
Oh yeah. I look back now, and I mean, even looking at the stuff he did in the 40s and the early 50s, and it's like, wow,
So
this is
great. The guy's great.
light years ahead of all these other guys who were drawing books at the time.
Yeah, and he was a teenager too, I think at
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
which is crazy. A lot of teenagers were drawing,
Yeah.
cut their teeth drawing comics. Yeah, and speaking of Hawkman, there's not no one ever drew that character better than Joe Kubert. I mean,
Yeah.
that's Joe's character, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Just so like, yeah, that's a good one. Do you know what the process was for like thinking, holy shit, this guy's really good?
Well, I think seeing him do Tarzan, and I started buying Our Army at War
Right.
early on,
Yeah.
and it was just because I liked his artwork in the war stories.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I mean, with Kanigher knew how to tell a story, and
He did. I agree. I completely
so
agree.
so I think that's where I grew to appreciate it. And it was like, all right, so he can't draw Superman, he shouldn't draw Superman, you know.
Maybe that's not what he was born to do.
Yeah.
Yes. No.
So
Viking Prince, yes.
yeah,
Maybe not Superman. No.
yeah.
Best to leave that to Kurt
Sergeant
Swan.
Rock, Enemy Ace, Hawkman, yeah,
Enemy Ace for sure. It's funny, like I like his Hawkman and I like his Viking Prince better than I like his war stuff. But
uh,
there's hardly any bad Joe,
yeah.
is the truth. Man, there were giants back then.
Mhm,
Let me tell you, I feel privileged to have just been a little tyke meeting some of these people.
mhm.
It was
Well,
it was
I
pretty
mean,
cool.
imagine how I feel having gotten virtually all of them at one point or another to draw something that I wrote.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see
I
that.
mean, I can't think of who among them I didn't have at some point draw a story that I wrote.
Right. Jim Aparo?
Think he did. What did he? Well, he did the cover of the calculator story.
He did the cover. He did the covers for Batman Family for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
You had a lot of Irv
And there
Novick,
had to be a. He must have done one of the Batman Family stories that I did.
probably. And you had yeah, you worked with some great artists. Irv Novick a lot.
Oh
Irv
yeah,
is just
a lot
really
of Irv
underrated.
Novick stuff. Schaffenberger, Swan. Um,
Yeah, and you were the guy that some artists that became names. They drew their first work. They drew for you on
yeah,
your scripts, like Don Newton, like Marshall
yeah,
Rogers, like Mike Golden.
yeah.
There's probably more that I'm not
Mike
thinking of.
Grell, sure.
Mike Grell.
Yeah,
So yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, the first Marshall Rogers Terry Austin story was not, what everybody thinks it is. It was the Last Calculator
it was
story.
the calculator story. Yeah. And let me
So it's
tell
like,
you, those are great. Those are a lot of fun. These comics are really important to me. I can't tell you. I mean, it was a joy to draw all the comics, but as someone who grew up reading this stuff, it was fantastic to like be part of the culture too.
mhm.
Yeah, it was great. Well, thank you, Mr. Bob. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. What are you working
And
on these days?
what? I'm working on. I'm drawing my own comics. I'm
Uh-huh.
drawing comics. I'm having conversations with amazing people like yourself. Because like it's time. I'm starting to realize like I'm a legacy act. I'm like I'm like Irv Novick, drawing a Batman family. I'm starting to realize like that. So I'm feeling the space.
Uh-huh.
So it's cool. It's kind of neat to be at this point in my career and to say like, wow, holy shit, I did all that.
Yeah.
Uh, it's kind of nice, and I didn't have a accounting degree to fall back on. Maybe it's not too late for me. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe I'll go back to school.
Well,
Uh,
I'll finish up that story because when I first started working at DC, and my father was like, "What?" And so after I left DC, I got a job as an accountant working for a construction firm. And my
okay.
father looked at me and he said, "Well, it's about time."
Ah,
And I said, "Dad, look at it this way." I said, most people, they come out of college, they get a degree, they're, an engineer or they're, finance or whatever. And 25 years later, they wake up and say, "I always wanted to be a baker.
that's
I'm going to
right.
open a bakery."
That's
I
right.
said, "I just did it backwards."
That's right. I mean, you got your dream stuff out of the way.
Yeah. And then it
And
was like, okay, now the next 20 years, I got to work, in the real world.
now I'll be an adult.
Yeah.
You
Now
know.
I'll grow up and every now and then someone will say, "Wait a minute, are you him?" In the
Yeah,
college
I
class,
mean,
they're just like, "Wait, you're that guy?" And so I've changed all of the captions where it has my name and it just says that guy.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you're that guy. I said, "Yes."
Well, you'll always be the answer man to me,
Hmm.
Bob, and to many, many, many people of my generation. You are the answer man. You're the guy to go to for all the answers. How do you spell Mixyez Pitalik correctly? All that kind of stuff.
How to pronounce it too.
How to pronounce it. I mean, I still have problems myself.
Well, I always called him Mix Pickle. Whenever Julie and I were plotting a story, it was like, "Oh yeah, Mix Pickle's going to be in it."
Well, that's probably
Yeah.
well. You guys were pros.
And
What can I
Nelson,
say?
would just like cringe. Mixias Pitalik.
I swear we should do. We'll have to talk again and just explain, and not in an ironic way or stupid way. We should talk about Nelson. Nelson's kind of an amazing
Yeah,
person, and it's funny that he was lumped into the not lumped in, but he was considered a junior woodchuck because he was the first junior woodchuck. He was like
that's
the
true.
junior woodchuck.
That's true.
He's like Earth 1, Earth 2, I should say.
Yeah.
Earth 2 Junior Woodchuck.
He's the golden age junior
He's
woodchuck.
the golden age Junior Woodchuck. I mean, if he had a hat, it would have wings on it. I'm telling you. Nelson was a pretty interesting guy. All right, Mr. Bob, I'm gonna stop recording now.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okie doke. Wait. I never. Okay, here we go. Stop.